So in 2.4, we're working with measures of variance. And in one of your questions, you're going to be asked to find like the range, mean, variance, and standard deviation. And one of them is actually, let's ignore this here for the time being. This actually goes to a different problem. Let me mark that out if I can. Can't do that. Gotta use my pen. So yeah, don't worry about, we're just going to leave that off for the time being. So remember, when working with data, there's what's called the population. So we have what's called population statistics, and you also have sample data statistics. So population would include the whole thing, and then sample is when you can't identify all of them. So this first set of data is going to be what we call population statistics. So the densities in kilograms per cubic meter of the 10 most abundant elements by weight in the Earth's crust are given below. So we have these distances. We don't have the actual elements to go with those, but that'll be for another day. So if we're using our TI-84 calculator, sigma squared is going to be variance and sigma is going to be standard deviation. And there may be some rounding involved depending on what MyLab statistics asks us to do. So if we go to stat, and if we enter the data in to start with, notice how I've got a bunch of data in already. So if I go up to L1, hit clear, and come back down, that'll clear it for us instead of having to hit delete all the time. So if I enter the new data, which I got this 1.4, 2330, it's 2700, 7870. Oops. That looks good. 1500. When you mess up, it just takes a little practice to figure out what actually works in this area because it's always some different buttons. Worst comes to worst, just type it over. $17.40. $4,500 and 0.09. Hit enter. Okay. One thing again we can do is if we go to stat again, if I sort, oops, come down to sort, it'll put the data from smallest to largest. So sort L1. So remember L1 is above the 1 actually. So hit the second button, hit the 1 button down there and hit enter. And then if I go back to stat, my data is now in order. So if I want to find the range, remember it's going to be the smallest value and the largest value. So if it may not have been a bad idea to sort it to the other direction, but it doesn't really matter. The largest value is going to be at the other end of the spectrum. So the 7870 would have been the maximum value, and I would have subtracted this 0.09. That would have given us our range. The mean and variance and standard deviation, this actually can be found in our calculator. Let's see, a range may have been as well. I'm not really sure, but so if I hit stat, if I do some calculations instead of doing this all by hand, the calculator can do this for us. We're doing right now one variable stats, so that doesn't have to change. Hit enter, and everything is in list 1, so we don't have to change that. We just come down to calculate. So even mu is used for mean. Our calculator uses X bar for mean. So again, that would be our mean, 2251.149. Now, as far as variance, notice how we need this sigma squared. Notice how this only gives us sigma x. So this actually has to be squared. One way to do that, if I go to vars on this calculator, so vars is over here, looks like. If I go down to number 5, to statistics, notice I have this sigma x. So if I come down here to sigma x, hit that in the calculator. If I then square that using the x squared button, so that makes a power of 2 there. If I hit enter, it'll do that math for us and that would actually be the variance. Okay, so if you need to see that one more time, I hit vars number 5 is statistics. It gives me these symbols here, and these symbols won't appear until you've actually done your calculations. So again, sigma x, sigma is for variance for a population. So if I come down there to that, hit enter, and square that, that'll give me the variance for a population. Now, if I just want the standard deviation, if I go back to stats, back to calculate, hit enter, and then less one's fine. So sigma x is actually the standard deviation. So the calculator doesn't show variance, but it does show the standard deviation by using sigma. So I don't know if it has the range in here or not. Let me see if we can scroll down anywhere. It does show the max and min though. So we could actually find the max. Let's see, where is that max at? I see the min of x is 0.09, but I don't see a max anywhere. Oh, there's the max. So there's the max and the min. So you could actually subtract the max and min from there. You wouldn't necessarily have to sort your data to find your range, but you would still have to do a little bit of math. Okay. So that would be how you would actually do population statistics using your calculator. You have to pay attention to sigma squared and sigma for standard deviation, but there is no mu, but our x bar would be the same thing. So that 22.51.149 would be your mean either way. So the next thing we have is sample data statistics. So we have another question involving ages and years of students in a dining hall. So if I want to put this data into the calculator, so again, I hit stat. If I hit, I'm already on edit, so hit enter. If I want to clear that data out, I can just go up to L1 and hit clear. Then I have to come back down and use my directional pad, and I got a fresh screen. So I can start putting that data in. So I have this 19, I have this 20, 17, 19. This is the time-consuming part for me. I'm hard. I usually gotta take my time here because if you put something in wrong, it's just gonna screw it all up. Should have like 4 18s and then a 19. So one, and I've only got 19 pieces of data, so I should have 20 pieces of data. So I'm short one again. So let me pause and see if I can figure out which one I left off. That's the tricky part. So I've got all my data in now. That's the tricky part. Again, I knew I had 20 pieces of data and I should have a 20 there on that. So I know I've got my data in correctly this time. That's the important thing. If your data is wrong, then what you do from here is just all wrong. So if you're using MyLab statistics, just keep that in mind, that pay attention to what you put in, double check it before you move on. So now if I go to stat and go to calculate, again, this is going to be my mean, this X bar. That's usually, X bar does mean like a sample statistic. Notice that variance is actually going to be this S squared and standard deviation is going to be this S in when we work with sample data. Also notice that, the min and max, if you subtract those, that's going to give you the range. Like 23 minus 17, wouldn't that be like 6? So you can actually see the range is like 6 there. That's the dispersion of the data. Not much of an age difference there. They're all the same age. That makes sense that if you're talking about students in a campus dining hall, that's typically what their ranges are going to be. So that doesn't look unusual. Now, notice that we have this SX. The capital S actually stands for variance. I'm sorry, capital S actually stands for standard deviation. So that would be this one here. So we have the standard deviation on the calculator, which is going to be that 1.83. So notice that there is not a whole lot of variation. The numbers are fairly close together, so that makes sense. The standard deviation, everything's fairly close together. Now, if I want to find the variance, though, what I got to do is square this value. The way we could do that as a shortcut is if we go to vars, number 5 is statistics. We use the S of X one, go down to that one. We hit that. And then if we square that using our X squared button on our calculator, hit enter, it'll actually give us a variance of this 3.47. Okay. So it kind of gives us a dispersion there, gives you a little bit of idea as well of what's going on with variance and how things are spreading out. So that's just kind of get you into a little bit of these words. And once again, it does matter if we're talking about population statistics and sample statistics. So remember, sigma squared and sigma are involving population statistics, and sample data statistics, they're using S squared and S. So we got to pay attention to that. And that was in our PowerPoint as well. So we got to take note of that. So that's going to conclude a little bit of using the calculator for some calculations.